I accidentally turned a legendary fox spirit into my girlfriend. Yeah, and you're not going to believe how I pulled that off. One reckless sentence completely rewrote my fate. A single drunken joke triggered something that should never have happened. That's how I ended up living with a beautiful Tsundere fox spirit. It all started after my graduation party, where I got absolutely wasted. My roommates warned me not to walk through the mountain trail behind campus. They claimed a mysterious white fox had appeared there. According to the rumors, it preyed on lonely men. I laughed it off until I actually met a white fox that could speak. It stared straight into my soul and asked one terrifying question. Drumpy thought it was the perfect time to start trolling. I told it exactly what popped into my head. A white-haired anime waifu in black stockings. The kind of tsundere fox girl who'd end up living with me. Peak anime logic. The next morning, I woke up inside a hotel room. And lying in my arms was the exact fox girl I'd described. She looked completely disgusted. But somehow, she couldn't leave my side. Just like that, I somehow gained a fox spirit girlfriend. Let's rewind to graduation night. One of my roommates threw an arm around my shoulder. Then shoved one last glass of liquor into my hand. Come on bro, one last drink. After tonight, we're all going our separate ways. That hit harder than the alcohol itself. A few more shots later, I was barely standing. My brain felt like it had been replaced with mashed potatoes. Eventually, the party ended. Everyone headed back together, laughing the whole way. My roommate noticed I could barely walk straight. He looked genuinely worried. You okay, bro? I waved him off and insisted I'd walk home alone. I figured the cold night air would sober me up. He suddenly grinned like a menace. Whatever you do, don't take the trail behind the mountain. People say a fox spirit has been haunting that place. Be careful, or she'll drain every last drop out of you. Another roommate immediately smacked him on the shoulder. Dude, quit spreading creepy stories. Even through my drunken haze, I laughed. Didn't they ban spirits after the founding of modern China? What a joke! I ignored every warning and stumbled off by myself, straight toward the mountain trail behind campus. Moonlight slipped through the trees above me. Everything looked surreal. The silence became overwhelming. Only my footsteps and the insects broke the darkness. The cool wind mixed with the alcohol. Instead of sobering me up, it made my head spin even harder. I started thinking my roommate's story was completely made up. Then, a snow-white figure appeared, crouching quietly inside the bushes. I squinted and staggered closer. It was enormous. A flawless white fox without a single stain. Its crimson eyes glowed in the darkness, like to burning flames. Half my drunkenness vanished instantly, before I could react. The white fox gracefully stood up, then walked directly toward me. Its mouth slowly opened, and it spoke. Its voice was beautiful yet strangely haunting. Young man, do I look like an immortal or a demon? My brain completely blue-screened. I froze on the spot. Then the alcohol took over again. I convinced myself this had to be a drunken hallucination. So, I embraced the chaos and answered without thinking. Every anime and light novel I'd ever watched flashed through my head. Every single one of them. All my hidden fantasies burst out at once. There was no going back anymore. I grinned like an absolute idiot. You look like my white-haired fox waifu. With fluffy ears. Wearing a school uniform and black stockings. He was about to drag me to a hotel. And then start the sweetest co-op living route ever. My perfect little tsundere girlfriend. The moment I finished speaking, blinding white light exploded from the fox's body. She let out a sharp cry that echoed through the forest. It sounded shocked and strangely desperate. The light was so intense I couldn't keep my eyes open. Everything suddenly went black. I completely blacked out. My last conscious thought was unbelievably stupid. Man, that liquor hits like a final boss. When I finally woke up, I found myself lying on a massive hotel bed. My head felt ready to explode. I tried to sit up. Then I realized a warm, incredibly soft body was sleeping in my arms. My entire body froze as I slowly looked down. White hair, crimson eyes, and a pair of fluffy fox ears on top of her head. An unbelievably beautiful girl, sleeping quietly against my chest. She was wearing nothing but one oversized shirt hanging loosely around her body. Her long, pale legs stretched out from beneath it, impossible to ignore. Our eyes suddenly met. Her crimson gaze was overflowing with frustration and humiliation. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Every trace of alcohol disappeared instantly. Before I could even explain myself, she swung her leg and kicked me. The moment her foot touched my leg, she jerked it back as if she'd touched live electricity. She gasped sharply in pain. Her eyes immediately turned red. You filthy human! What did you do to me? She sounded furious and strangely heartbroken. Her voice was already trembling. I stared at her pouting face. Even her fox ears were twitching nonstop from anger. That's when everything finally clicked. Last night hadn't been a dream. I didn't do anything. Even I wasn't convinced by my own excuse. She glared at me like I was her greatest enemy. I'm a nine-tailed white fox who's cultivated for 500 years. Last night was the first time I ever asked a human that question. If you'd simply answered immortal, I would have completed my trial and broken through safely. But your brain was full of weird romance fantasies. What kind of ridiculous answer was that? The more she explained, the closer she came to crying. Look what happened. Because of your completely inappropriate wish, our souls have been forcibly bound together. I can't deliberately hurt you anymore. And I'm forced to become your companion. Don't get excited just yet. I may have to stay by your side. But you're nowhere near strong enough to beat me. So think very carefully before trying anything stupid. As I listened to her explanation, my expression shifted from pure shock to complete understanding. Then I couldn't stop the grin spreading across my face. Did a dream girl really just fall out of the sky for me? I actually had a fox spirit girlfriend now. Looking at her bright red, angry face, I wasn't scared anymore. Honestly, she was kind of adorable. I cleared my throat, then deliberately teased her. So you're really my white-haired fox girl now? My tsundere fox spirit in black stockings. Why, you're the worst. She struggled for several seconds before those words finally came out. Apparently, insults weren't her specialty. She could only glare at me with those blazing crimson eyes. Silently, her fox ears trembled even harder. I was having way too much fun. I climbed out of bed. Got dressed without the slightest panic. Then turned toward my new companion. Guess I should introduce myself. My name's Qin Yu. I offered her my hand. She simply turned away with a cold snort. Awkward, not really. I casually pulled my hand back. I need to return to campus and pack my stuff. We can't live in a hotel forever. Oh, right. You should hide your fox ears and tail. Don't let anyone else see them. I'd rather you not end up in some research lab. My calm reaction completely ruined the threatening speech she'd prepared. It was like punching a pillow. She just stared at me blankly, speechless for several seconds. Finally, she forced a reply through gritted teeth. I already know. A flash of white light surrounded her. The fox ears on her head and the fluffy tail behind her disappeared instantly. They vanished without a trace. Only her striking white hair and crimson eyes remained. Now she looked almost identical to an ordinary human girl. An unbelievably gorgeous one, at that. She reluctantly followed behind me. Her face practically screamed, "Keep your distance." But because of that cursed soul bond, she had no choice but to stay by my side. And our bizarre life together officially began. If she stayed too far away from me, her cultivation would slowly weaken. I glanced back at her. She immediately looked away, then muttered under her breath, "I'm only doing this for my cultivation. I'd never willingly stay with someone as annoying as you." That classic Tsundere denial was honestly way too adorable. My mood instantly improved. Graduation suddenly didn't feel depressing anymore. Instead, my future looked more exciting than I could have imagined. I looked at the proud girl beside me. My brand new Tsundere fox spirit girlfriend. And I couldn't help wondering what crazy adventures awaited us. The moment I pushed open my dorm room door, my roommates were busy gaming together. "Bro, you're finally back. We've been worried sick all night. We thought you disappeared." We were this close to calling the police. Then they looked at me and immediately stood up. "The counselor's probably looking for you too. Weren't you just going out to sober up?" His sentence stopped halfway. His eyes locked onto someone behind me. The other roommate pulled off his headset, then followed his friend's gaze. His jaw dropped so wide it could have swallowed an egg. Standing behind me was the icy fox spirit. Her silver white hair and crimson eyes stood out even in the dim dorm lighting. She was breathtaking, like she'd stepped straight out of an anime. "Holy crap, bro." One roommate's eyes nearly popped out. "Is she the girl from last night? You seriously came back with a campus goddess?" Before I could think of an explanation, she stepped forward, determined to protect what little pride she still had. She spoke first. with a face full of disgust. Her voice was ice cold. I was forced into this. He won't leave me alone. He insists on making me his girlfriend. And I can't resist. The entire dorm instantly fell into dead silence. My roommate's expression shifted from shock to absolute disbelief. Then righteous fury took over. You animal, Qin Yu! One of them roared. The two of them rushed me together and pinned me onto the bed. A full-on friendship beatdown began. Leave the poor girl alone. Let us save her. We never knew you were this kind of guy. Taking advantage of people. I couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. All I could do was beg for mercy. Guys, wait, you're misunderstanding. It's all one huge misunderstanding. The fox spirit watched quietly, looking at my miserable situation. A smug little smile appeared on her face. But when she saw me getting completely overwhelmed, a hint of guilt flashed across her eyes. My two drama queen roommates kept escalating things. They looked ready to hold a full-on trial. Finally, she couldn't watch anymore. She cleared her throat softly, then walked over with her usual icy expression. That's enough, stop. My roommates immediately froze. Both of them looked at her. She suddenly seemed a little embarrassed. Her eyes drifted away. Her voice grew quieter. He may have started it, but I agreed. Both roommates let out a long, knowing ooh. Then they immediately let me go. Instead, they started grinning at me. Their attitudes flipped 180 degrees. We get it. It's roleplay. Nicely played, bro. One roommate elbowed me. So you got drunk and decided to play out an anime romance. Still staying in character, how? You're one wild dude. The atmosphere suddenly became incredibly awkward. The fox spirit's cheeks slowly turned pink, until they were red enough to look like they might catch fire. Even the tips of her ears turned bright pink. She shot me one vicious glare, then immediately turned toward the window. While packing everything I'd need after graduation, I couldn't help looking at the troublesome fox spirit I'd somehow brought home. She was definitely a headache, but somehow an adorable one. Oddly enough, after that embarrassing misunderstanding, it felt like we'd grown a little closer. Was this how rivals slowly became partners? Once I finished packing, I grabbed my suitcase, then waved goodbye to my roommates. I'm heading out. I already rented an apartment. One of them shouted after me, "Don't forget to invite us to the wedding, bro." I completely ignored him and rolled my suitcase out of the dorm building. The fox spirit quietly followed behind me. Her white hair shimmered beneath the afternoon sun. She almost looked unreal. I suddenly stopped and turned around. So, what's your name? She blinked. Clearly, she hadn't expected me to ask. She proudly lifted her chin. My name is Bai Ningbing. I quietly repeated it. Bai Ningbing. She gave a soft huff, then looked away again. but the tiny smile tugging at her lips gave away exactly how happy she really was. The apartment I'd rented before graduation was only a small one-bedroom place, but it was more than enough for the two of us. I dropped my suitcase in the corner, then began my unexpected job as a rookie caretaker. This is the toilet. It's where humans do their business. Press this button to flush. I pointed at it. She stared at it with equal parts curiosity and disgust. She frowned. You humans are so complicated. We just use nature. The world takes care of the rest. And this is a television. Push the red button to turn it on. You can watch people fight, sing, or act. The screen immediately lit up. A historical drama was playing. Bai Ningbing was instantly fascinated. She sat down in front of the TV, then reached out to poke the people inside the screen. I sighed. This tutorial was going to take a while. Thankfully, even though modern technology was completely foreign to her, her learning speed was absolutely broken. By the end of the afternoon, she had figured out every appliance in the apartment. She could even switch TV channels with ease, finding her favorite shows all by herself. That evening, she pointed at my laptop on the desk. What's that little box? Can it show tiny people fighting too? It's way cooler than ATV. I opened the laptop, connected it to Wi-Fi, then opened a browser. This is a computer. It connects to something called the internet. If you want to know anything, you just type it into this search box, and it'll find the answer. That's one advantage humans have over spirits. To prove it, I gave her a quick demonstration. I searched for white fox. Instantly, the screen filled with countless photos and articles. Her crimson eyes lit up. She carefully reached toward the touchpad and slowly scrolled down, watching endless information about fox spirits appear. I'd never seen her look so focused. All right, explore on your own. I'm going to the supermarket. We need groceries and household supplies. Before leaving, I warned her, don't click random things, and don't break my laptop. I know already, annoying human, you're so noisy. She answered without even looking at me. All of her attention had already sunk into the endless ocean of knowledge. Feeling reassured, I headed outside. At first, everything looked perfectly normal through the browsing history on my phone. When I checked his browser history, it was filled with searches like, how do I become a great demon as fast as possible? Human power rankings. The latest terrain maps of the Kindling Mountains. Stuff like that. Honestly, it matched the personality of a fox spirit perfectly. But then, everything changed the moment I came home carrying bags of groceries. The atmosphere felt completely different. While browsing a food forum, a flashing advertisement appeared in the corner of the screen and caught his attention. It featured a woman in an eye-catching costume, smiling mysteriously. Next to it was an incredibly tempting slogan. Feeling lonely tonight? Click here for exclusive entertainment. For Bai Ningbing, a fox spirit who had cultivated for 500 years. This was completely outside his understanding. He had never seen anything like it. His overwhelming curiosity took over. Before he even realized it, he clicked the advertisement. A completely unfamiliar corner of the internet opened before him. There were costumes, strange scenarios, and dialogue that made absolutely no sense to someone from another world. His crimson eyes widened. He completely froze. His mouth slowly fell open. His brain simply stopped processing everything he had believed for 5 centuries. Was shaken in a matter of seconds. He instinctively tried to look away, but curiosity kept pulling him back toward the screen. One click became another, and another. Before long, he was exploring the internet like an adventurer discovering a brand new continent. He disappeared into an endless sea of bizarre online content, completely losing track of time. When I pushed open the front door, the scene waiting for me was surreal. Bai Ningbing was still sitting in front of my computer, his back facing me, posture perfectly straight. But somehow, the entire room felt completely different. The air itself was filled with an indescribably strange atmosphere. I set my grocery bags down without making much noise. "So, what are you watching? You look completely locked in." The moment he heard my voice, he slowly turned around to face me. The look in his eyes wasn't the same proud, dismissive expression I'd grown used to. Now there was curiosity, a playful spark. It felt like a predator studying its next move. Not gonna lie, that gave me chills. "Hey, you sneaky fox. Why are you staring at me like that?" I joked to break the tension. "Planning something? Or are you just messing with me?" He didn't answer. He simply smiled to himself. Those crimson eyes gleamed with dangerous confidence. Every alarm bell in my head started ringing. I leaned over to check the monitor. On the screen was a dramatic scene from an online video. It looked like one of those over-the-top internet skits. The title alone screamed clickbait. That's when everything clicked. This innocent little fox had discovered the wild side of the internet. And yeah, the algorithm had already claimed another victim. I immediately reached for the laptop. Okay, that's enough internet for today. Unfortunately, he reacted even faster than I did. He stepped right in front of me, blocking my path with surprising confidence. Then, to my complete disbelief, he copied a dramatic pose he had apparently just learned online. Thump! I stumbled backward and bumped into the wall. It didn't hurt much, but I was caught completely off guard. He leaned in, trying very hard to imitate the actors he'd just watched, even lowering his voice dramatically. It sounded incredibly awkward, like someone reading lines from a movie after seeing them once. He looked so serious. Yet the whole performance was unintentionally hilarious. I had to fight every instinct not to burst out laughing. That was the exact moment I realized teaching a 500-year-old fox how the modern world works was going to be way harder than I ever imagined. And now this little fox was actually trying that move on me. Seriously, he was going to be the end of me. I could literally feel my hands starting to shake. If this kept going, I wasn't sure I'd be able to keep my composure. Seeing me completely frozen, Bai Ningbing assumed his intimidation wasn't convincing enough. His eyes darted around. Then he pulled out his ultimate weapon. He stared directly into my eyes, carefully pronouncing every single word. You wouldn't want anyone to know that you're secretly living with a little fox spirit. He leaned forward a little, trying to make the threat sound more convincing. There was even a hint of playful confidence in his voice. And not just any fox. A legendary nine-tailed white fox. That line hit me like thunder. I looked at his face, trying so hard to appear fierce and mature. But those crimson eyes couldn't hide his nervousness or embarrassment. My heart skipped a beat. Then, an overwhelming wave of amusement hit me all at once. I tried my best to hold it in, but I couldn't. I burst out laughing. This little fox was unbelievably adorable, even when trying to act intimidating. My laughter instantly shattered the imposing aura he'd worked so hard to create. His face immediately turned bright red, like a perfectly ripe apple. Embarrassed and flustered, he lightly punched me in the chest. It barely had any force behind it. It felt almost weightless. What's so funny? I'm serious. This is a real threat. He looked ready to stomp his feet in frustration. Aren't you supposed to be scared of me and let me have my way? That's how this scene is supposed to go. I gently caught his fidgeting hand, then pulled the flustered fox a little closer. I couldn't resist giving his puffed-up cheek a playful pinch. Yep. I know, very serious. Looks like my little fox had finally started learning human tricks. I paused, then leaned in slightly, speaking softly so only the two of us could hear. I've got a secret for you. Most of those videos are just scripted performances. Real life doesn't work that way. So don't believe everything the internet tells you. His whole body stiffened. His face grew even redder. Even the tips of his ears turned pink. This fox spirit who had suddenly dropped into my life was turning out to be far more entertaining than I'd ever imagined. Still, once the joking stopped, reality hit us hard. A huge problem was staring me right in the face. He didn't have any legal identity. In modern society, that was a massive issue. If he was going to stay with me, he deserved the right to walk this world openly, like everyone else. After our little comedy show, I had to face reality. Without an ID, he couldn't go anywhere. No high-speed rail. No hotels. He couldn't even register at an internet cafe. I had to find a way to get him a legitimate identity. After thinking it over, There was only one person I could ask for help. My uncle, who worked as a deputy bureau chief. Before we left, I gave Bai Ningbing a crash course. When we meet my uncle, don't say too much. Just look as pitiful as you possibly can. If you can fake a few tears, even better. Bai Ningbing proudly lifted his chin. Why would an immortal pretend to be pitiful? My tears are far too precious. They aren't something I'd shed so easily for mortals. I sighed and pinched his cheek again. If you don't want to stay an invisible nobody forever, then listen to me. This is going to determine whether you can legally use the internet and enjoy modern life in the future. The moment I mentioned his beloved study materials, his confidence vanished instantly. With obvious reluctance, he finally nodded. The next day, I brought the carefully dressed up Bai Ningbing to my uncle's house. My uncle, Zhou Jiangwo, was a stern middle-aged man. Years of holding a high-ranking position had given him a naturally intimidating presence. The moment he saw the unbelievably beautiful girl standing behind me, whose elegance felt almost otherworldly, his eyes filled with suspicion. So, who exactly is this young lady? I took a deep breath. Time to activate my inner Oscar winner. I gently held Bai Ningbing's hand. Uncle, I'll just tell you the truth. I began, launching into the elaborate story I'd prepared beforehand. Her name is Bai Ningbing. I met her during my graduation trip. Deep in the mountains. She was abused by her parents since childhood. They abandoned her to survive on her own. She was never even officially registered. Recently, something happened to her family. They completely abandoned her. She had nowhere else to go, so she came down from the mountains. Just look at how pitiful she is. While talking, I secretly signaled Bai Ningbing with my eyes. He understood immediately. He lowered his head. His hands nervously fidgeted with his sleeves. His shoulders trembled slightly. He looked so timid and helpless that anyone would feel sympathy. The performance was absolutely flawless. You'd never believe. This was the same mischievous fox from yesterday. My uncle narrowed his eyes. His sharp gaze shifted between the two of us several times. Everything you said is true. I immediately raised 3 fingers, looking as sincere as possible. I swear it. I just couldn't leave her all alone. I wanted to help. So, could you help her get a legal identity? My uncle fell silent. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he picked up a tablet. He entered Bai Ningbing's name and facial data, then started searching. A moment later, the screen displayed no matching records. A completely blank slate. Not even biometric information. It really does look like she lived in isolation. He studied Bai Ningbing carefully. She was almost unbelievably beautiful. Those crimson eyes. were certainly unusual, but with no records anywhere. It only made my story seem more believable. Bai Ningbing quietly put on his best innocent expression. His eyes even glistened slightly. My uncle looked at my pleading face, then at the quiet girl beside me. He let out a long sigh. After all, he couldn't ignore his own nephew. This is an unusual case. The paperwork won't be easy, but I'll see what I can do. I almost shouted with joy. Thank you so much, Uncle. After leaving his house, Bai Ningbing immediately returned to his proud self. He walked ahead with his head held high. But after only a few steps, he quietly slowed down until we were side by side again. In a small voice, he asked, Did I really act that well? I smiled and gently tapped the tip of his nose. You were amazing. Honestly, Hollywood owes you an Oscar. I couldn't resist teasing him. If you're that convincing, one day you'll fool everyone. I'd never even realize I was being tricked. Instead of getting angry, he flashed a sly little grin. Those crimson eyes curved into playful crescents. Obviously, he leaned closer, lowered his voice, and whispered, I'd definitely outsmart you. I'd cover my tracks, too, no loose ends. Then he stuck out his tongue playfully, grinning from ear to ear. And after that, I'd take a nice relaxing shower. This fox was officially beyond saving. He wasn't the cold, distant fox spirit I'd first met anymore. And I wasn't the overly cautious caretaker anymore. We'd started acting more like two close partners constantly teasing each other. After more than a month of waiting, plus endless paperwork and negotiations, Bai Ningbing's identity problem was finally solved. The moment my uncle handed me a brand new household registration, along with an official ID card bearing Bai Ningbing's photo, I was even happier. Then when I got my college acceptance letter, I sprinted all the way home, barely able to contain myself. He was watching a wildlife documentary when I rushed inside. Ta-da! Guess what this is? Bai Ningbing took the ID with a puzzled look. The moment he saw his own picture, along with the printed name Bai Ningbing, he froze completely. He slowly reached out, carefully, running his fingers across the little card again and again. Since arriving in the human world, this was the very first thing that truly belonged to him. The next second, he let out an excited shout. He practically launched himself off the couch, like an overly excited koala. He jumped straight at me. I barely managed to catch him. He kept thanking me over and over. His excitement impossible to contain. The warmth of that moment made everything we'd gone through feel worthwhile. Honestly, I wasn't prepared for what happened next. Apparently, simple celebration wasn't enough for him. A flash of white appeared, and he transformed back into his snowy fox form. He immediately leaped into my arms, wagging excitedly from head to tail. That fluffy little furball wouldn't stop rubbing against me. Before I knew it, my clothes were covered in soft white fur. I pretended to complain. Hey, settle down already. That's what I said. But inside, I couldn't have been happier. Holding that fluffy fox was ridiculously comforting. Bai Ningbing ignored my fake complaints. He transformed back into human form, raised a little ID card high above his head, his eyes sparkling with pride. None of that matters. The important thing is, I finally have an official identity. I couldn't help laughing. He kept enthusiastically listing all the things he wanted to do. Now I can go anywhere legally. No more borrowing your documents. I've got one of my own now. He sounded proud enough to conquer the world. I couldn't stop smiling. Seeing him this happy made every bit of effort completely worth it. Still, I quickly interrupted before his imagination ran wild again. If I let him keep talking, who knew what bizarre internet knowledge he'd bring up next? I flicked him lightly on the forehead, laughing helplessly. Aren't white foxes supposed to symbolize purity and nobility? So what happened to you? You look pure on the outside, but your internet history tells a completely different story. He pushed my hand away and protested with absolute confidence. That's called learning efficiently and keeping up with the times. He proudly waved his ID card like it was a victory banner. Now let's explore the human world properly. I've still got so much to learn. I completely surrendered. There was no winning against this little fox. All right, time out. We'll talk about that another day. I stared at that innocent yet dangerously charming face of hers. She looked like an angel, while casually saying the most unhinged things imaginable. Living with this little fox was going to give me heart problems sooner or later. Either she'd drive me crazy, or she'd flirt me straight into cardiac arrest. But seeing how genuinely happy she was, just because she finally had a legal identity, made every bit of trouble worth it. My little fox was no longer someone who had to hide from the world. From now on, she could walk beside me proudly under the sunlight. As for everything else, well, maybe I'd think about it someday. After weeks of listening to her bizarre educational material, I could feel the gremlin inside me slowly waking up. Yet I was definitely being corrupted too. I wasn't satisfied anymore with nothing but playful banter and harmless teasing. Then one day, after another brutal coding marathon, my back was killing me. Every single bone in my body felt broken. That's when a completely shameless idea popped into my head. I turned around toward my fox girl, who was busy watching anime. Then I put on my best pitiful expression. Hey, I'm exhausted. She barely glanced at me. Then said calmly, humans really are fragile. I kept trying to sell the idea. I've seen people get massages on TV. You can use magic, right? Could you make yourself a little smaller? And help me out? She immediately gave me the most judgmental look imaginable. Pure disdain. In your dreams, do I look like your personal maid? I wasn't giving up. Just once, please. I'm seriously falling apart. Have some mercy on the human who got you your identity. I earned this. And besides, isn't this supposed to be bonding? Isn't that what those videos kept saying? The word bonding clearly hit a blind spot in her knowledge. She looked at me suspiciously, then lowered her head to think. I could practically see her searching through all that questionable study material. A few seconds later, she sighed in defeat. Just this once. No repeats. A flash of white light. Suddenly she was only waist-high. Tiny. A miniature version of herself in an adorable little dress. Standing right in front of me. The real boss battle was that she had forgotten to hide those fluffy fox ears. They were still there, along with a massive fluffy tail swaying behind her. Critical hit to my sanity. I somehow managed not to get a nosebleed. Then I lay back on the couch. She awkwardly climbed onto my back. Tiny feet stepped onto my shoulders. Soft. Warm. Like little cat paws. But every step landed perfectly on the sore muscles. I couldn't stop myself from groaning. Oh man, this feels amazing. It was basically a legendary tear healing skill. I exaggerated every reaction on purpose. She listened to me enjoying myself. And suddenly got annoyed. Why was this weak little human having all the fun? Meanwhile, she was the one doing all the work. The smug look on my face was asking to get wrecked. A mischievous sparkle flashed across her crimson eyes. She waved one tiny hand. A faint spell activated. My body suddenly became weightless. Before I could react, an invisible force grabbed me and flipped me over. Asterisk thud, asterisk. I crashed onto the floor, completely stunned. Hey. What are you planning now? In her tiny form, Bai Ningbing stood proudly on top of me. She looked down at me like a victorious boss. Her little face was desperately trying to look as cold and disdainful as possible. Then she slowly lifted one tiny foot. A little white shoe came down toward my face in dramatic slow motion. The soft sole rested lightly against my cheek. It didn't hurt at all. But emotionally, that was a critical hit. I completely froze. Still in her tiny form, she spoke in that adorable little voice. She copied the attitude she'd learned online, doing her absolute best to sound smug. Pathetic little fish. I was speechless. My brain blue screen for a solid 3 seconds. Seriously. I was getting roasted by a fox spirit who had only recently entered human society. What kind of ending route was this? I was stunned. Then, I couldn't help finding the whole thing hilarious. Not because it worked, but because it was so unbelievably clumsy. That's when I realized I wasn't embarrassed anymore. I was just trying not to laugh. Honestly, this little fox had unlocked an entirely new level of chaos. I looked at her. She was trying so hard to keep that smug expression. But deep down, I could still see the nervous curiosity hiding in her eyes. I couldn't help teasing her. Hey, little fox. You've only been here a short while. And you're already trying moves that surprise even a veteran like me. My comment completely derailed the speech she'd prepared. Every line got stuck in her throat. She froze. Her carefully crafted cold expression almost fell apart. Don't tell me what to do. Instead of getting mad, I started critiquing her performance like a coach. Completely serious. Nope, not convincing. Your expression isn't cold enough. Your eyes need more confidence. I shook my head. And your dialogue is too repetitive. One catchphrase isn't enough. You need to sell that overwhelming confidence. Add more body language. Commit to the act. Make it feel natural. That's how you'd really intimidate someone. The more I talked, the more I sounded like some ridiculous acting instructor. She just stared at me. My reverse coaching completely broke her rhythm. She didn't know how to respond. Her tiny brain clearly wasn't equipped to process this level of nonsense. She was flustered. She pulled her foot back, then hopped off me. Another flash of white light. She returned to her normal form. Back to being a blushing fox girl pointing at me. You absolute weirdo. Then she spun around and sprinted toward the study. I'm going to keep studying. Next time I'll totally beat you. Asterisk bang, asterisk the study door slammed shut. She immediately rushed for the computer. I lay there on the floor, staring at the ceiling, grinning like the real sly fox in the house. That ridiculous showdown ended in the sweetest, most unexpected way. Life with my Tsundere fox girl just kept getting more entertaining. Honestly, I was already looking forward to whatever bizarre thing she'd learn next. Thanks to my expert guidance and endless encouragement. Her enthusiasm for learning reached an all-time high. Naturally, I became her self-appointed mentor and training partner. We called it helping a fox spirit better understand and critically analyze human pop culture. In reality, we were just binge-watching anime. and famous scenes from movies and TV shows, before enthusiastically breaking them down together. One day, I walked in and immediately realized something was different. Somehow, my fox companion had picked up a brand new persona from an anime. The outfit I bought had somehow become part of an over-the-top roleplay. Standing there with a mysterious prop in hand, the performance was surprisingly convincing. There was this icy and touchable look staring straight at me. The command came with absolute confidence, like I was supposed to obey without question. It was trying so hard to imitate that untouchable queen energy. I didn't even flinch, I simply walked right up. Then I flicked that forehead. Just one tiny flick, and the entire act collapsed instantly. An indignant yelp escaped before the act could continue. Both hands immediately flew up to protect that poor forehead. Just like that, the intimidating aura disappeared completely. Even those fluffy fox ears drooped in pure defeat. The eyes staring back at me looked ready to tear up. Just talk to me normally. I wasn't buying the performance anymore. I even joked that getting too close might be hazardous to my health. That earned me an instant retaliation. I caught the attack without breaking a sweat. What started as a showdown turned into playful chaos. The very next day, another personality appeared. Apparently, there had been another marathon of internet videos. I had just wrapped up an intense gaming session. My throat felt completely dry. A bottle of water appeared in front of me almost instantly. Those bright eyes watched me with obvious anticipation. Then I noticed the bottle was already half empty. Without thinking, I made an offhand remark. I'll pass. I teased that it had already been claimed. The cheerful smile vanished in the blink of an eye. The atmosphere suddenly became strangely heavy. Then came another dramatic performance straight out of those videos. So, you don't like me. You actually don't like me. Does that mean you don't care about me anymore? I still refused the bottle. Instead, I doubled down on the teasing. If you're going to commit to the role, commit all the way. You've got to sell the performance. I kept piling on ridiculous suggestions. The more absurd they became, the harder I laughed. I honestly expected another tantrum. Usually, that would have been the end of it. Instead, there was only silence. Then the impossible happened. The act continued with complete seriousness. Before I could even process what was happening, I completely froze in surprise. Everything happened so quickly that my brain simply crashed. I never saw that coming. I instinctively swallowed my embarrassment. Then we finally pulled apart. A smug little grin followed. Mission accomplished. That confident look screamed, checkmate. Pretty sweet, huh? From now on, remember who always has your back. In that moment, my heartbeat definitely skipped a beat. I couldn't tell where the joke ended anymore. Somehow, the line between acting and reality kept getting blurrier. And that thought genuinely scared me. As the days passed, our little experiments became more elaborate. Each one was somehow crazier than the last. I even started collecting props just for the fun of it. The first attempt was an absolute disaster. I laughed so hard I could barely breathe. Then I tried giving some professional advice. Apparently, I had become the world's most unqualified acting coach. I kept critiquing every little detail. None of it was serious, but I acted like it was. The reaction was immediate. Someone stubbornly tried to prove me wrong. Watching the determination was honestly hilarious. Then one roleplay session went completely off the rails. The performance became a little too convincing. One tiny mistake changed everything. A burst of power escaped before anyone could stop it. The room's lights exploded with a loud pop. Darkness swallowed the entire room. For a second, we just stood there in stunned silence. Then we both burst into uncontrollable laughter. The laughter echoed through the darkness. It was impossible to hold back. I couldn't even see the face across from me anymore. But I could hear every calm breath in the silence. The familiar presence was strangely comforting. My smile slowly faded. This time, I spoke from the heart. Honestly, I like you exactly the way you are. The laughter stopped instantly. There was only silence. The darkness hid every expression between us. But somehow, that made the moment feel even more real. Several long seconds passed. Finally, a quiet voice answered me, trembling just enough for me to notice. I realized something had changed. The usual sarcasm in that voice was gone. What remained was quiet confidence with just enough charm to catch me off guard. After wrestling with the broken lights for what felt like forever, the room finally lit up again. The familiar Tsundere attitude returned almost immediately. But the way those eyes looked at me was completely different now. Without thinking, those hands would straighten my messy hair every morning. Whenever I was gaming, the fox would quietly return to its original form, then curl up on my lap. Its fluffy tail lazily brushed against my phone while I played. One evening after dinner, I looked over at the couch. Someone was completely absorbed in a drama on my tablet. That's when I suddenly made a suggestion. We've never actually gone on a real date. Let's go out tomorrow. The answer came without even looking up. Boring. But that tiny smile at the corner of the lips and the late-night search history for perfect date guides betrayed everything. Mission failed. The secret was completely exposed. The next day, we finally had our official first date. And it was an absolute comedy from start to finish. Our first stop, a romance movie. Afterward, we wandered through the streets together. Apparently, someone was still determined to recover from the earlier embarrassment. There was no way this battle was ending in defeat. Then another online dating trick appeared. The classic wall scene. I could practically see the gears turning. A perfect corner was selected. Suddenly, I was backed against the wall. There was just one tiny problem. The height difference. Standing on tiptoes wasn't exactly intimidating. Honestly, it looked more adorable than dramatic. This only works if you cooperate. At least lean down a little. Watching that determined effort, I completely lost the battle against my own laughter. So, I wrapped my arms around them instead. Then gently tapped my forehead against theirs. See, that's a lot more natural. The entire face turned bright red. Everything froze. System.exe had officially stopped responding. By the end of the day, every carefully prepared plan had completely fallen apart. The walk home felt unusually quiet. Am I really that hopeless? The question barely rose above a whisper. I reached over and held that hand. Those online guides are fake. They're trying way too hard. What we have right now is already enough. Those eyes stayed on me for a long moment. No words. Then, understanding finally appeared. A genuine smile followed. Real feelings. Don't need guides, tricks, or magic. That hand squeezed mine back with surprising strength. Yeah. This is enough. After a short pause, the voice moved closer. Only I could hear the next sentence. Then came the punchline. But if you spoil me a little more, that would be even better. Seriously. I almost tripped. This fox could never stay serious for more than 3 sentences. I looked over at that satisfied smile. Those crimson eyes sparkled with pure happiness. My heart softened instantly. What began as a complete accident was slowly becoming something truly precious. That night grew quiet. We leaned back together on the couch. The city lights drifted past the window. Then a soft question broke the silence. Hey, if you hadn't said those ridiculous things that night, what do you think I'd be now? I knew exactly what was really being asked. My usual teasing disappeared. I actually thought about it. Then I answered honestly. You'd probably be an incredibly powerful spirit, living freely somewhere deep in the mountains. But I'm really glad I was there that night, even if I was an absolute disaster back then. Otherwise, I would have missed out on the best little fox in the entire world. The words made those shoulders tremble ever so slightly. A quiet head rested against my shoulder. A soft voice finally broke the silence. I used to hate the idea, but being by your side isn't so bad after all. I've learned so much. Things I never could have learned living alone in the mountains. I felt a faint warmth against my shoulder. My heart immediately sank. I turned, ready to offer some comfort. Instead, I found a mischievous grin waiting for me. Apparently, someone was just teasing me again. I couldn't help laughing. Seriously, that's your idea of a joke? You almost had me worried. I actually thought something was wrong. For a second, I believed it. Then those determined eyes met mine. I've made up my mind. I can't keep slacking off anymore. Starting today, I'm going to train seriously. That declaration caught me completely off guard. So what happens if you become too amazing for me? The words slipped out. The only response was a warm smile. It carried a promise stronger than any speech. Somehow, every word melted away. The confident grin returned. Those crimson eyes shone with determination. Don't worry. I'll make sure we keep moving forward together. My favorite troublemaker isn't getting left behind. After that night, the training really did become serious. Of course, the definition of serious was uniquely our own. 3 months flew by. I officially passed my probation at work. Meanwhile, my fox companion adapted perfectly to modern life. An online account was created just for fun. It unexpectedly turned into a fashion channel, with movie star looks from every angle, and an unforgettable sense of style. The followers exploded into the millions. Naturally, teasing each other became part of the daily routine. One evening, I was buried in an important proposal at my desk. Next quarter's bonus depended on it. The bedroom door opened. A familiar figure appeared, slowly walking over, fresh from a shower, with damp hair resting across the shoulders. A few drops of water still glimmered under the lights. The room suddenly felt calmer. The air filled with the fresh scent of shampoo and soap. I stayed focused on my laptop. Someone clearly wasn't impressed. Asterisk snap. Asterisk. My laptop was gently closed. I looked up in surprise. Then, my personal space completely disappeared. Someone leaned in with an unmistakably playful smile. My hard-working human. Still working. The teasing was relentless. I sighed, already knowing I wasn't winning this battle. My attention had officially left the spreadsheet. Let me finish this, and I'll treat you to fried chicken and bubble tea. The answer was an exaggerated pout. Clearly, that offer wasn't nearly convincing enough. The protest continued without mercy. Then, very quietly, "Why are you working so hard?" "Money can wait. Weren't we supposed to spend today together?" The voice was gentle, simple, yet it landed directly in my heart. I couldn't argue with that. After all, quality time mattered too. The last thread of my concentration snapped. Game over. The proposal could survive one evening without me. I stood up with a laugh. All right. You win this round. But remember, I looked straight ahead. Tonight belonged to us, and nothing else. Tonight, we're not calling it quits until we've both leveled up. Laughter immediately filled my arms. Bright, carefree, and completely contagious. A fluffy white foxtail suddenly appeared, unable to hide its excitement any longer. It playfully wrapped around my arm like it had a mind of its own. Oh, bring it on. Those crimson eyes sparkled with competitive energy. There'll be no holding back. Still smiling, I carried my companion toward the bedroom. We settled onto the bed, still laughing. Moonlight poured gently through the window. The whole room felt peaceful. For a while, neither of us said a word. Finally, the silence broke with a tired laugh. You're getting better at keeping up with me. I reached over with a grin. Those fox ears had appeared again without warning. They twitched happily at the gentle attention. Honestly, it looked like an overgrown house cat enjoying the moment. I couldn't resist teasing a little more. So many more brilliant ideas. The question earned a puzzled stare. Then realization hit. A playful kick landed on my leg. You're impossible. The complaint sounded serious. But the smile gave everything away. There was no hiding it anymore. I laughed and dodged another playful swipe. The room echoed with nothing but laughter and harmless chaos. Then suddenly, a bit of fox magic stopped me in my tracks. My rival stood proudly in front of me. With all the confidence in the world came the announcement, I've decided to become the strongest fox spirit ever. No more procrastinating. Training starts right now. Human or spirit? None of that mattered anymore. We'd face whatever came next together.